Welcome to The Law, Your Money, and You. I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Sharon.
And I'm Camille, a healthcare advisor and financial coordinator, also in Sharon, Massachusetts. And today we're going to talk with someone who can tell our viewers about some of the things to consider as people advance in age and may need to consider other living options besides living in their home.
Okay. What age group would that be?
It would be any age group, but typically I'd say over 65.
Oh, okay. Well, we want to welcome you, Jodi Tolman, and we start off always with tell us a little bit about yourself. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and welcome.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really very thrilled to be here. So I've spent about 10 years now in the senior living industry. I have a background in theater and acting, which prepared me quite well, actually, for this work.
Tell us about that, because that's
well, I
sounds very
spent a lot of
interesting.
years in Los Angeles and New York and Philadelphia, and my career, while I was a singer and I was a performer and actor, my career really sort of focused on voiceover work. So I spent quite a number of years doing voiceover work, narration, medical, industrial narration, training, commercials.
Well, when you say voiceover,
So if you
voiceover
see-
characters? Or
Well, no, that's not anything I ever did, though I wanted to. But if you see a television commercial and you don't see the person speaking, but you hear someone speaking, that's called a
you.
voiceover.
And let me just interject one thing. I told Jodi this when I first met her. When I was growing up, my mother would always say, please watch the way you answer the phone. You know, you need to have your phone voice be very pleasant and not sound abrupt or anything like that. So I complimented Jodi because when I called her the first time, and I think I might have gotten your voicemail, I'm not sure. No, it was you. It was you. And she said,
She just sounded like
That's exactly right.
and she sounded so, just so pleasant and so professional. And it reminded me of exactly what my mother wanted me to do when I answered the phone. So I complimented her. But go ahead.
Well, funnily enough, it has happened on more than a few occasions that I will answer the phone and people will not respond and then ask, is this a recording?
That's right, because I thought it was a voicemail and it was really
And
Jodi.
sometimes I'll say, yes.
Oh,
And then I can,
you got to be
I can
kidding.
hear their
You should've
confusion on the other end.
saved it for you. Got to be kidding. Oh, what a ride. Sometimes what people used to do turns out as interesting as what they're doing now, and they don't realize that we really want to know all about that stuff too, because
Yeah.
nobody's ever been on with that. We've never had anybody
No.
on
What do you
who's
know?
done that. We've had a lot of wannabes, but
So I spent many years doing that, and then my industry changed quite a lot, and I decided it was time for a real job, and I ended up in corporate sales, business-to-business sales, stuck in a cuticle, as my daughter called it at the time. Mommy, do you have your own cuticle? And so,
Well, your nails look nice, by the way.
thank you so much.
yeah.
It wasn't the job for me. I'm just too much of a people person to be stuck with the phone shoved in my ear. And so then I just sort of accidentally fell into senior living. And that was nearly 10 years ago. And I've spent the last 10 years working with seniors and their families and helping folks navigate what can be really challenging waters.
Sure. Well, you know, one of the concerns today is with all these baby boomers getting to be 65 or older, people wonder about what they should do, whether they should be thinking about making alternate living arrangements, even though they may or may not need it at the moment.
Right.
How do you handle those situations?
Well,
Why
I'd like...
don't you tell us what company you're with now?
Certainly.
even
I
though it-
am with Whitney Place at Sharon. I'm the Community Sales Director and Professional Outreach Director at Whitney Place. We opened just over a year ago on South Main Street, across from
Right.
Shaw's Plaza.
Well, you've offered the Rotary, to which Camille and my husband belong. and
Yes,
We've
yes.
gone there for events, so we've probably met you there,
Yes, I think so.
which is
And
nice of Whitney Place to offer.
Well, we've been very fortunate because, of course, we want to invite the community into our community. And so the Sharon Men's Club and Rotary and Brandeis Women and all kinds of organizations have utilized our spaces, and we're very fortunate. We have some beautiful spaces, large, small,
Yes, you
mid-size,
do.
so we are happy to have community members come in and use our space.
It's great.
Yeah. So what's fortunate in a way is that, well, let me say it a different way. Many people of our parents' generation, for example, have a tremendous misconception about what senior living is all about. Their only frame of reference with senior living is a nursing home, a horrible nursing home where people would basically go to drool in the corner and die. And as a result, so many people, our parents, would say to us, whatever you do, promise me you'll never put me in a nursing home.
I've heard that many times.
Many, many times. Well, the boomers are fortunately becoming much better educated and are aware of the fact that senior living can be an absolutely fabulous lifestyle. It's almost more like resort living than anything else you might compare it to. So folks are looking at senior living and moving into senior living communities at an earlier and earlier age, a younger and younger age, I should say. And what I really try to impress upon people of any age is the profound wisdom in not waiting for a crisis to make a move like this, for so many reasons. One is that, as I say, it's a fabulous lifestyle, and we want people to take advantage of and enjoy that lifestyle. And to just know that it does not mean the end of independence, the end of autonomy, the end of control. It can mean the opposite. You can actually increase your level of independence because you're now no longer dependent on children or neighbors or Meals on Wheels or what have you. You're in a community where everything is provided for you, including socialization and engagement, and it can be just an absolutely wonderful lifestyle.
You mentioned that people in the previous generation thought of senior living as nursing home. What are some of the options now that are available to people that may not have been available then?
Great question. So senior living, it's a spectrum. And so it means anything from independent living. Independent living is folks who are not in need of any kind of supportive services whatsoever, but they want a maintenance-free, carefree lifestyle. And they want to be in a community that can meet their needs as they increase over time. So there's independent living. Then there is...
Is that like having your own apartment?
It's exactly right. So you'll have your own apartment within a community. And when I use the word community, by the way, it simply refers to an independent or assisted living building. They used to be called facilities, an assisted living facility. It's the furthest thing from a facility that you can find. There's nothing institutional about this lifestyle. And so we've done away with the word facility, and we refer to these places as communities. So there's the independent living resident who lives in an apartment, and then that person can, if they choose to stay in that community, and most do, in fact, they choose a community because they can age in place. And that means they may come in as an independent living resident, and as time goes by, their needs may increase, and now they're in a place where their needs can be met. If they may need help with medication management, if they may need help showering and dressing at some point, if they may need help getting from point A to point B, those kinds of supportive services are in place for them to utilize whenever they may need it. Many communities also offer memory care, and that is typically a dedicated part of the community, neighborhood, as it's usually referred to, that is secure most often, to meet the needs of folks living with dementia or Alzheimer's at various stages of those diseases. And in some cases, some campuses will also incorporate a skilled nursing facility, sort of integrated within the entire community. And so that is called from independent to skilled nursing, which, by the way, is typically a medical or clinical setting, and it's designed for someone who may need ongoing medical care. So it's beyond the level of what most assisted living communities will offer.
So do they have to move? Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Not
Do
at
they
all.
have to now move out of where they are?
It depends. It's a very good question. It depends on what the entire campus offers. So, for example, at Whitney Place in Sharon, we offer independent living, assisted living, and memory care within our building, but we offer no skilled nursing within our building. Our other campuses do. They offer the entire continuum of care from independent all the way up to skilled nursing. We provide that continuum by way of our visiting nurse agency that has a presence in our building. So for folks who do have advanced needs, who don't want to move or don't need to move to a skilled nursing environment, we can
Now,
in
when I
many
think of
ways care for them.
when I think of skilled nursing, more from the insurance side of things, typically that would exclude long-term care facility. But are you using those to be one and the same?
A long-term care, yes, exactly. A long-term care facility is a skilled nursing environment where someone can no longer live with any level of independence and must be in a clinical setting. Perhaps they need intravenous drugs or injections on a regular basis, or have open wounds that need to be managed, or they need their foods to be modified in some significant way. And typically those kinds of activities, they're referred to as skilled nursing activities, cannot be delivered in an assisted living setting. So yes, and long-term refers to the fact that the folks living in that environment are there for the long term.
Now, a lot of people worry about the cost of senior living. And again, it probably goes back to previous generations where these kinds of things could be quite expensive because, of course, we know Medicare doesn't cover long-term care or assisted living.
Correct.
It only covers skilled nursing once you're out of a hospital. So can you help our viewers understand how do they determine whether it makes sense for them financially
Sure.
to go into that type of a facility?
Absolutely. So there is no question that senior living is expensive. And I say this because a person or a family wants to evaluate the value of what their expenditure is providing. So for example, some communities are simply monthly fee communities where a resident pays monthly, and there are certain things that are included in that monthly fee, and then there are others that may be extra. Well, if you factor in, if you consider the fact that care and all dining and utilities and activities and housekeeping and transportation and so forth is included in that monthly fee, then most folks are surprised to do a comparison. Here's what it costs me to own and live in my own home, and here's what's included in my monthly fee at X community. And gee, they're not that far apart.
In fact, you mentioned when we spoke, you said that you often will provide people with some sort of a worksheet
Yes.
that helps them to determine those costs?
Yes, we have a wonderful worksheet. It's called a cost comparison worksheet. Down the left side of the page, in granular detail, are all of the costs associated with owning and living in one's home.
There was, it's like you got to be kidding, but this woman kept going on cruises. And she says, well, a cruise, I get everything paid for, I have activities, and I have this and that, and it's cheaper than going into a care center. So this is,
It's funny that you say that.
I mean, I don't know if that's true or if it's
Well,
a joke.
we will often say to folks who visit our community, to really help them understand what the lifestyle is all about, we will often compare it to living on a cruise ship.
Oh.
We want you to love your cabin,
It's true.
You call it the love
but we
boat?
want you to come out of your cabin and enjoy the lifestyle. And that's one of the main reasons that we really try to impress upon people
Do you have a lot
not,
of single
not to
people
wait.
there? Like, you know, the 90-year-old men wandering into the...
Well, you've covered a
I
couple
heard
of
of that happening. That's a true story.
you've hit a couple of points there. In our community, for example, the age range is between 70 and 101.
Really?
Yeah. And if a person,
I believe you have Cantalou, and I know he wouldn't mind me mentioning his name.
we do,
Cantalou is there.
we do,
He's so wonderful.
Harold and Honey Lou,
Yeah, he's so wonderful.
just incredibly wonderful people.
Young forever man.
Exactly.
He-
So, but what you mentioned sort of in jest, but is an actual thing, are folks who are living with Alzheimer's or some sort of dementia who wander, whether it's wandering into another resident's apartment or it's wandering out the door and off the campus.
They say a
And-
good thing, and doing it again, the good thing about Alzheimer's, because it is kind of a morbid subject, but is that they meet new friends every day.
You gotta be kidding.
That's one way to look at it. That's certainly one way to look at it. So to get back to the cost,
Yes.
there are different ways that people fund senior living. There are those with bottomless pockets, and how wonderful for them. Most people don't fall into that category. So one brilliant thing that I strongly recommend my children and everybody who's on the younger side of things do is to purchase long-term care insurance. Long-term care insurance can be a spectacular thing. There's also what many people are not aware of, a fabulous veterans benefit. You must qualify medically, you must need assistance with living. It doesn't go to cover the cost of independent living, but it does go to cover the cost of assisted living, and you must qualify financially, but it's a wonderful benefit. Otherwise, any income, Social Security, pension, annuities, the sale of a home, a portfolio of investments, family support. There are all kinds of ways that people will fund senior living. And some communities are what is called private pay, meaning there are no subsidy programs that community will participate with. Other communities may have a certain number of apartments designated for folks on mass health or another subsidy
Is
program.
Mass Health, that's not long-term.
That's the Medicaid.
That's Medicaid.
Medicaid.
Sorry. Yeah.
So, and what many people will do is choose to utilize their funds to fund the highest quality of life they possibly can. So they'll find a community that really appeals to them and meets their needs and their interests and their aesthetic sensibilities and so forth. And they will live in that community for as long as possible. And if they should outlive their financial resources, then they are in a position to need to make a new plan if they're living in a private pay community. And a new plan means identifying another community that does participate with mass health or another subsidy program called PACE. And they'll make a move.
How do you spell that? PACE?
PACE, P-A-C-E. and please don't ask me what it stands for, but I can
Program
tell
for-
you that it has to do with, there are certain communities, senior living communities that participate with the PACE program, and a resident will agree to receive all of their health care through PACE providers.
I think it stands for Program for All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly.
There you go. She's.
Does that sound familiar?
Very impressed. That's correct.
One more thing before because we're getting close to the time that we have to
Are we close
close.
until you got to be kidding?
Yes, I got the sign.
Oh, you did?
I did.
didn't
I
even
got the
notice
sign.
it. And we're going by so fast. too.
Yeah,
This
that
is
was-
fantastic. Very interesting.
But you mentioned earlier about not waiting until a crisis comes up.
Yes.
So you're saying that we should be planning ahead.
Yes, yes,
And-
without question.
And should people be looking into facilities? I don't want to say, people be looking into senior living communities now as they're planning?
Yes,
Okay. What should they
absolutely
be
yes.
looking for? What kinds of things should they be evaluating?
Oh, yeah.
People want to find a community. The most important things to most people looking at senior living communities are the quality of the company, the track record of success, its reputation, and so forth, the quality of engagement, activities, programming, events, off-site trips, and so forth, quality of the food, and an environment, a physical environment that appeals to them, and proximity to family.
Do they have different foods like kosher or
Some communities will have a
Haitian
kosher
or
kitchen.
different types?
So at Whitney Place, for example, we do not have a kosher kitchen, but if we have residents who would like kosher meals, we've identified local vendors who can provide kosher meals for our residents that can be heated up in any oven and will serve
Have
on.
you ever had somebody where it got to be kidding moment where they ordered some kosher food and then when it comes they go, I'll have that instead?
It hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it's on our
Maybe I'll have the
radar.
Chinese
Yeah,
food
then the
instead.
functions, you know, they
So,
order kosher.
yes, we
Oh,
we
I see,
really
got to be
highly
kidding.
recommend that folks
You
look
got to be
into it
kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding.
at any
Yeah.
age.
No, that's very interesting. You know, this topic is probably more interesting than it makes it out to be. Like people wait. It's like you don't go to the funeral pile until you're dead. You know,
Right,
and
right.
it's the same thing until you need it.
But I
And
don't
if we leave our viewers, your viewers, with one message,
Yes.
it's that senior living is, if you haven't looked into it yet, it's not what you think it is. I have so many adult children who tour our community looking for their parents who will say to me, this is fabulous, this is gorgeous, can I move in? So it is not what you think it is. It's a wonderful lifestyle. You want to be proactive and you want to identify a community that appeals to you.
So then you work with, or you make sure you see your attorneys to see how you can keep your money and still take advantage, or maybe
Well,
not run out
that's-
of money.
It
That's-
depends
that's
on
another-
the community that you're looking at. If you're looking at a private pay community, you're utilizing your funds to fund that your life there. If you're
Yeah.
looking at those communities that participate with Mass Health, you must have spent down your assets in order to qualify for Mass Health.
It has changed since years ago, and people probably still think of the brick building on the outside that looks fine, and the minute you get in there, it smells and
Oh,
it's
God.
Not like-
disgusting.
And I
They're
can
not
tell
like
you,
that
if you walk
anymore.
into any community, whether it's assisted living or skilled nursing, and there are odors,
Yeah.
you want to turn around and walk
Absolutely,
out.
there
You don't
shouldn't
bother
be any
touring.
odors.
Oh, one last closing
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
So if somebody does take your advice and
Mm-hmm.
they go and they search and do the research ahead of time, and they find some place that they think they would love to be in,
Mm-hmm.
are there waiting lists?
Yes,
Long
yes,
ones?
yes. It depends on how long that community has been
Really?
established. So, for example, at Whitney Place, we opened, as I said, a year ago. We've just started our wait list.
How many people do you have? Occupants?
We have approximately 75 residents. We have 88 apartments in total between what's called traditional senior living, so that's independent and assisted living. And then we have, so 44 apartments in our traditional neighborhood and 44 apartments in our memory care neighborhood that we
So
call
they can
Tapestry.
cook in these apartments? I remember looking at one of these places for my father-in-law one time. They can cook there, but yet they can also go to the cafeteria and eat also?
In some communities, yes, you can do that. In our community, our apartments are beautiful and they offer kitchenettes. So no cooktop, no range. But there is a country kitchen, 2 country kitchens in the community that are
that's
fully
very
equipped, so folks can use that for cooking or baking. And they take all of their meals in the dining room.
That's fantastic.
Yes. I think
I
it's about a
didn't know.
wrap right now,
Thank
isn't
you.
it?
Yeah. Can I do one
Yes,
funny?
of course.
You've got to be
Yes.
kidding. So you've got to be kidding bag. This is. I just want to let everybody know that the Braintree police officer's book has been finished. They got it delivered the other day, and I always say our last book is our best. Sharon has its 2nd edition. We're working on Reading now, and we got orders in from Somerville, and it's free to all the police, and police officers are our friends, so treat them nice. But the one I had for You've Got to Be Kidding was, this is a good one in this world today. The clerk in the Washington, D.C. would refuse to issue a marriage license to people from New Mexico because they insisted New Mexico was not part of the United States. And no matter what they did, they finally convinced them. But I mean,
You've got to be kidding.
ignorance is way up there. Yeah, no, I'm not. It's unfortunately, it's true. But okay, so you can wrap up
Oh,
now.
sure, okay.
She
Jodi,
does.
thank
Yeah,
you so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was
you,
my
Jodi.
pleasure.
It really opened my
Thank
mind to what I didn't know about
Exactly.
these things. And
Exactly.
I'm ready to move in right now.
There you go. And we'd love to have you.
Thank you very much, really. I'm sure many people are enlightened and maybe relieved to know that it
Yeah.
isn't a dire existence if they ever
Exactly.
should have to go
Quite
that
the
way.
opposite.
And to our viewers, we want to thank you for watching. And please let us hear from you if you
Yes.
have questions or you would like to know more about senior living options
Minion band.
for yourself or your parents or anyone else. Please let us hear from you.
Yes.
Because remember, this is your show, the law,
Yeah,
your money,
and
and you.
you.